So since already Fabian and Dr. Satyan have explained you all the benefits of using such a wonderful machine, I'll be straight away going into the clinical applications of that. So how do you use an iodine fundus fluorescein angiography machine in your clinical practice to assess diabetic retinopathy, right? So just with some few clinical examples. Number one, we all know for a retinologist, the most important thing is to detect the presence and extent of retinal edema in case of a diabetic. So as you can see in this case, it's a 54-year-old diabetic for the past 12 years with complaints. Now, if you see these montage color fundus photo, you can see laser marks 360-degree all around in both the eyes. You can see couple of hemorrhages in certain quadrants, but macula grossly looks normal. So you don't really know why there is blurring of vision. So obviously for a diabetic, am I audible? Yeah. So for a diabetic, angiography would be the gold standard. This is the high resolution video fundus fluorescein angiography. So I'll just try to play the video. Yeah. So it captures a few seconds before you inject the dye. So you may be getting such a little bit of a blank image. Then you see the way, dye entering the vessels. All these microaneurysms are highlighted, as you can see later on, and you can see all these laser marks which are seen as dark hypofluorescent spots in the periphery. If you're very careful, you can see this highlighted NVE in the temporal part of the macula. Of course, to assess an angiography, you need the late frame as well. So in the same patient, when we see the late frame, you see massive amount of leakage from these multiple microaneurysms, which was highlighted in the early frames. And also you can pinpoint the NVE in the temporal quadrant. Of course, you need a supplement PRP and an injection. So it is really useful. The other eye also had a lot of diffuse macular edema. So it really helps us, assess the extent and type of macular edema. So coming on to the next type of maculopathy, of course, you need to know in a diabetic whether your maculopathy is focal, whether your maculopathy is diffuse or ischemic, because whether you're going in for a steroid injection, an anti-VEGF or a laser, all depends on that. So I'll just show you an example of focal maculopathy. So again, a diabetic, you see clinically significant macular edema in both the eyes. There is this beautiful hard exudate so clearly delineated due to this true color image. Now going on straight to the angiography part of it. So again, a video, you have to choose between one of the eyes. So whichever one of you has is more clinically important to you, you tell your operator to focus on that eye. So again, as in the veins, dye starts to enter into the retinal vessels. You can see the beautiful laminar flow, couple of blocked fluorescent patches due to the hemorrhages. You see the beautiful microaneurysm all close to the macular area near the fovea. Now, just based on this, you won't be able to plan your management. You need the late frame. So as we move on to the next slide, you can see in the late frame, all these pinpoint microaneurysms you were picking up early are becoming fuzzy, becoming leaky. If you do a scan through these areas, you're definitely going to get macular edema. So this can help you plan your management. You can identify these spots, and whatever spots are 300 or 500, whatever you're following in your clinical practice, microns away from the center, you can target and laser them. So we did focal laser in this patient, significant reduction in edema and resolution of hard exudates. Though there is still significant amount of DME, and you need to ask the patient to maintain a good metabolic control. Coming on the next type of maculopathies, ischemic. So again, they're 52-year-old diabetic. If you see clinically, the picture on the left-hand side to most of us would appear much worse than that on the right-hand side. However, if you go on to check the best corrected visual acuity, it's in fact far worse in the right eye compared to the left eye. Now, scan doesn't reveal much to us. It's practically normal with a few hard exudates, a couple of cystoid spaces in one corner, but nothing really much happening in the central foveal part. So how do you explain this vision being so less in the right eye? So an angiography comes to your rescue. So we did an FFA, of course, focusing on the right eye, and you see there's circulation, there's vein dye entering in the superior part. However, close to the fovea, temporal to the fovea, you have these non-filling patches, the CNP areas. So there is extensive amount of macular ischemia. You can identify the broken phase, and it's so clearly seen on all of this. So hence the reduction in visual acuity. You may not be able to do much about it because it is primarily related to ischemia and not related to macular edema. However, you need a stricter control, hence the visual acuity lesson in the right eye. So this is just the late frames of the same both eyes. You do see that the phase is much broken and irregular in the right eye. as compared to the left eye, and despite having more macular edema. Sorry?
Go ahead, Dr. Mansi.
Delineating that broken phase area and ischemic area for you. Coming on to the last type of maculopathy I'll be talking about is diffuse macular edema. So again, diabetic, hypertensive, you see those typical cotton wool spots in the periphery. You see a lot of these hemorrhages. You may notice a difference in the color of the images between the two. That's primarily because the eye on the right eye is pseudophakic and the one on the left is phakic. So you see this color image. This is how we get it in IDON. Just a little bit of close-up. So you do see a lot of hard exudates, maculopathy, suggestive of typical diabetic retinopathy. Coming on to the angiogram part. So see in the angiogram, a couple of microaneurysms are coming up, not much. Little bit of blocked fluorescence due to the hemorrhages. Now, when we straight away jump onto the late frame, you see a diffuse amount of leakage, which is not explained by those one or two hemorrhages which saw one or two microaneurysm which we picked up on the early frame. So there is diffuse macular edema. Your management may change. Lasers don't, unless it's a grid laser, really don't work too well in it. And Ozurdex or an intravitreal steroid injection might be your first choice. So it is really helping you decide on which patient you're going to take up for laser, which patient you want to treat with steroids or anti-VEGF. In this patient, we did go ahead with a grid laser and a PRP because if you clearly notice in the inferonasal quadrant, there is a big NVE patch. So we went ahead, did a PRP, not affording for Ozurdex. We had no option but to give grid laser a go and did pretty well. Another important function is to assess the retinal blood flow time. So there was this one-eyed gentleman we operated for a diabetic tractional detachment. A little bit of residual traction was left behind. The disc is very pale. His vision was 6/9, but he kept on developing these recurrent NVIs despite us having done a very heavy 360-degree laser. So how do you explain this recurrent ischemic phenomena, recurrent neovascularization? So we went ahead and did an angiography of the patient. If you notice, normally you would expect the dye to come into the eye at 8 seconds, 10 seconds, or even 12 seconds. But in this gentleman, despite waiting for a good 40 seconds, not even a single amount of dye entered the eye. So there was extremely prolonged arm retinal circulation time. There was an ocular ischemic syndrome. We did have a carotid Doppler of the patient. There was carotid stenosis. We had to refer him to the cardiologist. So you might be missing, it might not be related to primarily ocular pathology, and a delayed arm retinal circulation time may be a useful indicator for so. So in the same patient, diffuse ischemia and this macular CNP area, you may want to consider adding a grid to this, considering the patient had recurrent NVIs. Of course, it helps you to identify capillary non-perfusion areas and target application of laser photocoagulation. So this is again a diabetic patient. If you notice, there are cotton wool spots in the left eye, nasal, inferior aspect. There is a front of neovascularization with some kind of fibrous proliferation as well. You need an angiogram to manage such patients to know what you're dealing with. So if you see carefully, this is the right angiography video. As we proceed further, you can see in the superionasal, keep your eye on the superionasal aspect, you'll see a beautiful frond of neovascularization. There it comes up. It lights up like a sea fan, and you have multiple other NVs in the temporal aspect, but that particular frond is very big. So here you have a highlighted neovascularization. So in other frames, again, the late frame of the same patient, all the NVs are beautifully lit up. You can see all these CNP areas inferiorly around it, and you target your laser according to that, avoiding the NV areas to prevent any kind of proliferation in the later phase. So the same patient, we complete a PRP and anti-VEGF injection if it has macular edema, and hopefully stabilize them with a good control. Again, a similar patient, inadequate PRP, very few laser marks all around. You see a good amount of pre-retinal bleed already in the left eye, little bit of traction in the right eye. Again, we go ahead, do an angiography of the patient. We are primarily focusing on the left eye, which has already bled. So as and when you proceed further, you notice inferiorly, if you look, you will see a patch of blocked fluorescence, which is due to the bleed that you're seeing. And just next to that blocked fluorescence, you see a patch of highlighted lacy network of blood vessels, which is the NVE. So you know where it is bleeding from. There are multiple NVEs. If you look at the disc, there is an NVD also. So it is in high risk PDR, which has already bled and may bleed further if you're not too aggressive about it. So we were pretty aggressive about this patient. He had a high risk PDR, both the eyes already bleeding in the left eye. We went ahead, did an injection, did a laser, and you can see how beautifully the inset picture is the previous one. So after the laser injection, the front has regressed, the bleed has settled down, and we were able to medically manage the patient. Next is important is detection and extent of neovascularization of disc and elsewhere. We've already seen a couple of examples of this, but a few more. So here you see in both the eyes, there is extensive neovascularization at the disc. There is a fibrous tissue growing right over the. So next, sorry. Yeah, so we do an angiography of the patient. Same, it's difficult to choose which eye. Both of them have quite an aggressive disease, so which eye the video should go to. And you see an extensive neovascular network, right, extending from the disc inferiorly, superiorly. So florid neovascularization you can identify. And of course, when you're doing PRP, you target it away from this. So again, this is showing extensive NVD in both the eyes, extensive NVE. You know you have to manage using a laser. It also helps you to monitor what response to your therapy is happening if you do an angiogram later after your intervention. Again, a diabetic for past 12 years, poor metabolic control, already has bled in the left eye, extensive pre-retinal bleed. The right eye has this big front of neovascularization right at the disc. PRP looks grossly inadequate. You do an angiogram, you see diffuse leakage from that new complex right at the disc and the macula in the right eye. And if you're careful enough, other than the block fluorescence, you can also see this neovascularization at the disc in the left eye. So you know you're dealing with a very, very severe case of PDR, and untreated it may go blind. So we had no option but to do a surgery in the left eye. You see we've been able to clear up the bleed and laser. The right eye is still thinking about what to do. He's not too keen for surgery. In sometimes in your clinical practice, you may encounter unexplained vision loss. By that, what I mean is clinically the photo may be not as bad as, and the scans may not be as bad as the visual acuities. As in this case, it was almost counting finger 2 meters in both the eyes. Of course, you have a little bit of hint because the sclerosed vessels can be seen at the macula, which is a hint that it may be ischemic maculopathy. But of course, how do you confirm it? So we did an angiogram again, and you see there is gross ischemia right at the macula. Almost half of the macula is knocked out. There is already neovascularization still at the disc despite an extensive PRP. So there is diffuse macular ischemia, and that is accounting for all the vision loss. So even in the late frames, you can see totally knocked out areas of perfusion in the macula, explaining for extremely poor vision in the right eye. And I think this is one of the few last slides. So identification of IRMA is another very, very important thing because your whole management changes whether you're going to do a PRP or not. So again, a 59-year-old female diabetic with a poor control. Now I'll just zoom in. Of course, you see the beautiful myelinated fiber in the left eye, various features of diabetic retinopathy, too many to elaborate, frankly, dot blot hemorrhages, superficial, hard exudates. If I focus onto the finding, this is what I'm trying to talk about. So what you see in the focused image is this branching network, which is extending between two major blood vessels, not really crossing over. That is there in both the eyes. Now, is it an NVE or is it an IRMA? It is very difficult to say clinically, though there are certain clinical indicators which may help you. But a best way to identify what we are dealing with is again an angiogram, differentiate between them. So as in when you focus on the particular patch, it was right on the superior aspect of the disc. You see the vessels are filling up, but there is no leakage. There is no intense leakage of NVE that we saw in the previous photos. So clearly we are dealing with an IRMA and not an NVE. You don't really need to be so aggressive and ask the patient to go ahead and get an PRP. Both the eyes had bilateral IRMA, severe NPDR, needs strict metabolic control and anti-VEGF if has macular edema. The last one, be careful, not all bleed in diabetics are diabetic bleed. So this was a 54-year-old with diabetes since 7 years, fairly okay control. If you are careful, you can see all these mild changes of diabetic retinopathy, including dot blot hemorrhages, few hard exudates in both the eyes, few cotton wool spots. And he came with the complaint of sudden onset of floaters in the left eye. So if you see, you can see all these beautiful hemorrhages, pre-retinal hemorrhages in the vitreous in the left eye. Now, at one glance, one may think he's a diabetic, he has a bleed, it's a diabetic bleed. But once we did the angiogram of the left eye, of course, you see the beautiful blocked fluorescence in the left eye, few microaneurysms in the right eye, but we are not able to identify even a single MVE in all the quadrants. So it was a PVD related bleed in a diabetic. You don't really need to be very aggressive about PRP and other things. You just need to keep him under metabolic control, frequent observation, because such PVD associated with hemorrhages is at high risk of retinal breaks. He had no retinal break. We are just managing him conservatively. He just came to our clinic last week. So that was my last case. Hence, of course, we all know it's a very useful diagnostic procedure for documentation, following up, maintaining a record, and understanding how your patient is responding to your treatment. And of course, EDON FFA, like I showed you, all these videos, they provide you very detailed, dynamic view of the blood circulation. It's an ultra high resolution video, and it's so easy for our operators. They don't find any difficulty. It's almost a computer guided for them, and it improves our workflow. It's quick, easy. We can just assess the angiogram on our browser and we are good to go. So yes, it's an excellent tool for us in our clinical practice, and we have been routinely, it has replaced our conventional angiography completely for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mansi, for the wonderful pictures and the videos. Yeah, even your book was wonderful, actually. I wanted to congratulate you on your book as well. So if somebody wants to see your book, can you just suggest where they can go on buy, or they can see where they can see?
It's on JP Publications. It's by JP Publications. If you search on Amazon, you can find a link. And I think otherwise, Anil and all, they know a link for where to buy. But I think it's available on Amazon. It's by JP Publications. It's called Retina Atlas. I'll try to put up a video of that on maybe a screenshot of the cover page at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dr. Mansi.